So, from now on, these vlogs are going to be through audio. It's easier for me, and I'm not a good writer. Also, I need video making practice. The winter wrap-up should be written, but after that, nothing else will be. And I'm going to start with the worst show because it's really bad, and I want to get it out of the way. I cannot believe there are 2 shows about women being sexually harassed by older men this season. And no, not giving his age does not make it any less creepy. I got about 5 minutes into this show, or was it 10? I don't care. And when the main character, who is an adult in his 20s, offered his body to a teenage girl as payment for saving his life, I noped the fuck out of this show. It doesn't help that the main character's sister supports the relationship. I'm going to repeat that. The main character's sister supports a relationship between a grown man and a teenage girl. I know I often say that age doesn't always matter, but just no. Like, a billion times no. Ew, God no. Gross. A woman sexually harassing a man isn't funny, and if the genders were reversed, you'd all be screaming at the show and calling it garbage. I will give Shiro Mashima some credit. Making a series that's basically a veiled version of your previous manga to flip off the people who canceled it is really ballsy, and I did like Fairy Tail, so in theory this should work. The problem is that Eden Zero just isn't interesting. There's a lot of random plot elements, like a YouTube ripoff, body enhancement, spaceships, robots, and a talking cat. But honestly, it all feels like window dressing. The characters just aren't interesting, and they feel like paper-thin versions of the previous characters. I know we're 2 episodes in, and so it should get better, but I just don't know if I'm interested enough to keep watching. 86 is so convoluted that I honestly almost gave up on it. If it were original, then maybe I'd like it, but I've seen this same stupid war story about a character being shipped off to oversee a battalion of other characters multiple times. Oh, and of course there are mechs, because there are always mechs. Oh, but these mechs are not piloted by people. The people pilot them remotely. I guess it's something? It's not really different. It's just trying to be different? I don't know. I like the art, but that's pretty much it. Also, the main character looks like Esdeath, which is really funny. The problem with Pretty Boys Detective Club is not the concept. Nisu Ishin basically took Ouran High School Host Club and made them into detectives, and that's actually really cool. No, the problem is that it's Nisho Ishin, the same person who did Bake Monogatari, which basically means the show's going to be 90% Sakuga and 10% plot. Oh, and probably a lot of fan service. I mean, I like the characters, but I don't know if they're enough to hold my interest, and so far in the first 2 episodes we haven't even gotten an actual mystery, except maybe the main character wants to find a star, but that's not really interesting. Can we please have an actual mystery? I don't know. This one is going to be on hold. So, I think Tokyo Revengers is supposed to be a time travel story like Erased, where the main character goes back in time to rescue a girl he likes. The problem is that the main character in the present and the past look so drastically different, I don't even know if they're the same character. The other problem is that nothing in this story has been set up, and after 1 or 2 episodes, that's a bad sign. I don't even know if we've met the gang. I don't know who his friends are. Hell, I don't even know who the girl is. We know her name is Hinata, and that's it. I think I'm going to give this show a little bit of time because it might be good, and I kind of like the idea, but I'm really wary at this point, and I'm not going to give it a long time. I liked Joran until episode 2 when they started throwing out weird shit like people being able to turn into crows and blood curses. As a revenge fantasy, it's pretty decent, but the fact that the writers are trying to cover that by shoving in fantasy elements is a massive red flag that they don't have a lot to work with and don't know what they're doing. The only reason I'm not dropping it is that Elena is a pretty good villain, and I haven't seen a show with a villain in a really long time. Also, the art is cool and the fights are really, really awesome, so there's that. I don't know. I went into this series with an open mind. I liked Heartcatch Precure because it had a really cute heroine. Healing Good's plot twist about one of the villains being born from the main character was cool. And Mahotsukai Precure was actually really fantastic with a distinct setting and a plot that didn't feel like the same formula the other shows have copied. So, to say that Tropical Rouge is disappointing is an understatement. The art is fun and catchy and colorful, but while I do really like the transformation, the art itself feels really cheap. I don't know if it got new animators, but something just doesn't feel right. It feels like a massive step down. More importantly, it doesn't feel all that original. Okay, so they're in a tropical setting. And it's the same villains who use monsters to wreak havoc, the same obnoxious mascot character, the same 5 personality types, the cute one, the danky one, the smart one, the shy one, and basically the same recycled Precure story we've already seen. Granted, we're only 6 episodes in, but so they've got to pull something special to make this work, and so far, I don't know, it just isn't. I was really excited for Burning Kabaddi because I've never heard of this sport and was really interested to learn more about it. That would have been okay, except for 2 major problems. 1, none of the character motivation in this show makes sense. Why would a group of jocks think a gamer nerd would have any interest in their sport whatsoever? How do they even know where to find him? Did they just follow him around all day? Hey, to learn where he lives? And more importantly, why would these people want anything to do with him? He's an asshole. He's one of those people who hides behind the keyboard and does nothing, make comments. That's literally his character. That's established in the show. And speaking of which, none of the characters are interesting. The main character is an asshole, but the rest of them are just really paper thin and boring. They're basically the bland range of characters you find in the background of every single show. I guess some of them would be okay with a little more development, but Tachi is an asshole, and I just don't really have any interest in this show outside of that. If I wanted to learn about Kabaddi, I can just go look it up on Wikipedia, so when the first 5 minutes of a show consists of nothing but random scenery and no dialogue, it doesn't exactly bode well. I guess the art is okay, but it's so dark and dreary looking that I started to fall asleep halfway through. This isn't helped by the fact that the lead Seiyu sounds like she's falling asleep. This is a really complicated way to say that Super Cub isn't the worst show I've ever seen, but it's definitely not going to hold my interest for more than 2 episodes. This show feels really forced. Like, the main character just happens to walk into her apartment right as she gets isekai'd, and then she just happens to end up in the palace, and then she just happens to hear the king say to her, "Oh, you can stay here for, no reason." I admit the idea of someone not wanting to get involved in whatever isekai shit they've been summoned for is interesting, and the main character seems to care more about living her life and just enjoying it, but the show is really contrived, and I'm not sure I care enough to keep watching it. The Saint's Power is Omnipotent is a really cool title, but this series just doesn't live up to that. Oh, wait, Jun Fukuyama, isn't it? Damn it! The show would be better as a short, and Letty is really grating. Frankly, he just whines and cries the whole time, and if I were his parents, I'd want to kick him out too. The entire joke of episode 1 is that the main character can't say no, so his sisters put him in a dress. That's not funny. Also, there were no actual card fights in this episode, so it's not the worst idea to have the main character need to learn to stand up for himself, but if that's the low common denominator you're going for, you need to work much harder to make your series something I want to watch. It's Hetalia. If you don't know why Hetalia is funny at this point, then you need to go watch more anime. He said Bleach, Dragon Ball Z, and Naruto, and I feel sorry for you. It doesn't have a lot going for it, and that means that this show's going to have to shove in a lot of unnecessary character drama, but I do need something to watch, and it seems like one of the better plots this season. Also, I kinda like the characters, and the art is okay. It's serviceable. It's not great, but it's something. This show is hard to talk about after just 1 episode. It looks great, it has beautiful music, and it has a really nice character cast, but that's about it so far. There's really been no plot. He goes to Tokyo and nothing else. I look forward to watching this show, but I'm not sure it's going to have enough to actually talk about in a vlog, because it's basically a show about a guy who wants to play music. That's it. So, I like this show, but I don't know why it's considered a mystery. The first episode is just the two main leads hanging out together. It's really cute, and I like the dynamic between Kate and Emiriko. Emiriko is adorable, but other than that, why is it a mystery? I guess it's because the shadows exist and we don't know where they came from? I don't know. I like the art. It reminds me a lot of Rose and Maiden, and that's it. I want to make it very clear that this show is not Beastars. Beastars focuses more on its interpersonal conflicts between its characters, and this show is mostly dialogue driven. It's cute, it's quirky, and it's fun, but it's not a character story. It's about what the characters say to each other rather than what actually happens between them. Not much has happened so far, but that's because we're only on episode 2, and I look forward to seeing where it goes in the future. I know I should hate this show, but the main character has a saw coming out of his arm. Also, the monsters look actually scary. And there's blood. And guts. Wait, isn't this an RPG adaptation? Do I like this? Do I actually like an adaptation of a game? Oh my god, I actually do. It's a miracle. A game adaptation that actually doesn't suck. Granted, there are still the same trappings, like the main character having power for no reason, a fantasy quest, a princess who needs to reclaim her kingdom, but I can forgive it this time because it actually looks really good. It looks good! How? So, I'm not sure about this one. On one hand, it has a better plot than Konosuba, and that's really saying something, because Konosuba didn't actually have a plot, but on the other hand, it still has the same really obnoxious style of humor, so, I like Alice better than Aqua. She's not annoying, and she actually doesn't put up with the main character's shit, so that's something. I guess I'll keep watching this one only because it actually has a plot, and I like the idea, but I don't know. On one hand, I like the idea of a vampire hunting unit, but I really don't like the art, and frankly, I've seen this plot done before, and much better. So, I might skip it, but I might just not blog about it and watch it in the background. I don't know what the title of this show means. All I know is that the main character's name is Vivi, and she's a robot, and she sings, but I don't really care, because this show is just cool. It's basically what happens if Five Nights at Freddy's had sex with RoboCop. Also, Jun Fukuyama plays a bear. So that's it for the first impressions. There are a couple other shows I watched, like the one about making mugs. It's about making mugs. What do you expect? It's stupid. Also, the one about the main character whose childhood friend is a total bitch. Other than that, I don't think I'm watching anything else. There is the one about the main character who is basically immortal and just wanders around the planet, but that's not very interesting. I've never liked that kind of story, so I didn't really feel the need to talk about it. The weekly wrap-up should be coming soon, and the winter one hopefully will come out in the next couple of weeks. Other than that, I will see you in the next video. And now I'm going to stop talking before I start tripping over myself.